So here's the thing. I'm turning 25 next month, and something that I have found myself doing a lot over the past 3 or so years is thinking about all the stuff I used to love as a kid, as a teenager. I'm talking music, I'm talking movies, TV shows, all of that. Like, I can't stop. Like, most people I know have wiped their Facebook and all other social media clean of their embarrassing teenage activities, but not me. I retain it as is. I don't untag myself from pictures of me looking stupid. I don't delete the pictures where I take like a selfie with my Sony Ericsson phone and it's like 5 whole pixels and it looks awful. No, I don't get rid of those. I keep them because I find myself going through these phases every few months where I want nothing more than to look at all the shit I used to talk about, I used to post about, I used to share on Facebook when I was like 14. The Spotify playlist that I have put the most effort in is the one where it's just music from when I was in primary school and secondary school. That's my favorite playlist. That's the one that when I'm feeling down, I listen to it. Kids, let this be a warning to you. When you enter your mid-20s, your entire personality just becomes nostalgia. That's all it is. That's the essence of me now. I am Z. I like makeup, books, and nostalgia. That's it. That's it. So since I'm constantly walking down memory lane, I felt like it would be good for me to do one from books as well. And just have a quick reminisce of all the books that I loved when I was a kid. Originally, this was gonna be a video that spanned from when I was born until I was like 17 probably, but then I decided that it would be too long. And I'm getting into a habit where all of my videos are like 20 minutes long and I'm trying to rein that in, trying to pull back on that. I don't want to be editing for 4 days straight, okay? I know that's a long time. I am a procrastinator, okay? I just want to film like a 20-minute video and edit it down to like 8 minutes, and I can do that in like an afternoon, okay? So in this video, I'm only going to talk about books that I liked when I was 12 and before. I'm probably gonna make a follow-up video that's just books that I enjoyed as a teenager. But for once, I'm thinking about editing Z, so I'm not going to go through so many books today. I feel like I'm not even going to really talk about what they are because some of them are like don't have an overarching plot really. I'm just gonna talk about each book and why I love them, and that's it. So I can say right now that these are all books or series that I used to read and reread and reread and reread over and over again as a kid. I remember we did have a computer and we did have internet, but I didn't understand most games. So as a kid, my main forms of entertainment was books and TV. And I can secretly read books, but I couldn't secretly watch TV, so I read a lot. The first book I must start with is Harry Potter. So I credit this book and most of the series, I guess, for being the catalyst that made me go from, oh, reading is kind of nice, to, oh my god, reading is great. Harry Potter did that. I decided that I would show you Chamber of Secrets because this is the first Harry Potter book I ever owned, the first Harry Potter book I ever read, and I did not know what series were until I read Harry Potter. So this is the copy that I had since I was like, I think 8 years old, and as you can see, it's seen some better days, but I love it. I remember as a kid, I was like, ooh, what a scary cover. That looks so spooky. Hindsight, I reread this book so many times. Like, the pages are yellowing. Look at that. I remember being really shook at that scene where Tom Riddle is like, Tom Marvolo Riddle. Wait, wait, wait. I am Lord Voldemort. I was like, shit. Didn't know what an anagram was. I thought I made a note about it, but apparently not. There's a sellotape here where the page ripped apparently. To preface this next book, I was a bookworm even when I was like hanging out with my cousins. So one of my cousins actually has, or had, I'm not sure if she still has them, a huge collection of Archie's comics, and I loved them. I feel like her collection, I probably read every single comic that she had 3-4 times at least, because we would visit every week and we would stay about 3-4 hours or so, and of course we'll have dinner and we'll have some dessert, but then after that is like playtime, and sometimes I'm like, I don't want to play, I kind of just want to lie here and read. So my cousin would let me pick out 3 or 4 Archie's comics. I loved them so much. I was so obsessed. So what I have here is one of Betty and Veronica's Double Digest. I have a handful of Archie comics. I'm actually not really sure how I acquired them. I don't think we bought them. I feel like either this cousin or someone else, some other relative, gave them to us. But yeah, it was so good. Rereading it now, I realized that it's not as funny as I remember, but I loved them. And I remember I was so excited when the Riverdale TV show came out, until I started watching it and I was like, oh, this is different. This is very different. This is almost nothing to do with the comics. I still liked that show for like a couple of seasons. Ooh, Enid Blyton was another one that I spent so much time with. Back when I used to go for English classes, my English center had a huge Enid Blyton collection in their library. So that would be like my go-to to borrow every single week. And I eventually got my mom to buy me a couple, but because I wanted to get my money's worth, I would ask for like the ones that have multiple stories in them. And one that I reread so many times is this one. It's about the 5 find the outers and they solve mysteries. And oh, you can tell it's seen better days. I loved it so much. The pages are literally falling out. Oh, it was so good. And I like that it's kind of typewritery, the font. You can also see I put some glitter glue right here. Just decoration. This was so lovely. I need to reread this at some point. I did start rereading the first story maybe last month or the month before, but I kind of stopped. But I'm gonna do that next month probably. Another series of books that I became pretty obsessed with when I was around 10, I would guess, was Chicken Soup. And I have a few. I have the Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, Chicken Soup for the Girls Soul, but this is my first one, I think, that I ever had, which is Chicken Soup for the Preteen Soul too. And again, it's coming apart. It's seen better days. I have a little name sticker there with Doraemon on it. But yeah, in case you're not familiar with the Chicken Soup books, they are a bunch of stories written by people. I think they're all real stories. I don't think there's any fiction in here, but they're all real stories that kind of document their experience with a certain topic. And it's kind of a way to, like in this case, it's a way for preteens to use their experiences to help other preteens like me, who maybe I was struggling with friends or crushes or family stuff. I think I really enjoyed the ones that were like about crushes and about friends, because even as a kid I was like such a romantic. I was like, oh, I love. So yeah, those were my favorites. Oh, I forgot about this. Sometimes they would pepper in comics that were related to the topic that chapter was about, and I used to love those too. Another series that honestly, I don't think I reread every single book that many times. I feel like the whole series, all 7 books, I probably read 2 or 3 times. But I've definitely reread like the first 2 books more than 5 times. And that is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So this is actually my favorite. I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, but The Magician's Nephew and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, those are my favorites. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not, but I really like them the best. So I think this one, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe were the ones that I reread the most. I have a version that has like really thick, really nice smooth paper, and I love it. I think it's actually, is it plastic? I don't know. But yeah, this was great. My aunt actually bought the whole series for me in like a little box set, because this was a series that she loved when she was a kid. Okay, I have 2 final books to show you. Alex Rider. I had such a crush on Alex Rider, and this is so embarrassing to admit. Now I'm old and it's like, Alex Rider was like 14, gross. But back then, I was like 10 and this was acceptable. I have the first 9 books. I was actually thinking of doing this thing where I read the whole series and rank the books, but then I googled it and I found out that after the first 9 books, there are like 3 more that have been published since, and like 1 more that's going to be published this year. So never mind. Maybe I'll just rank the first 9 Alex Rider books. I don't know. That's still an option, I guess. But yeah, I had such a crush on Alex Rider. I thought it was so cool how he was like a teenage spy and he's like, oh, I'm a badass, but I'm not mean to girls or something. So yeah, again, this is a series where I didn't start with the first book. I'm showing you Skeleton Key, which I think is the 3rd book. I think it's the 3rd book because this was the first one that I ever owned. And later on, I think, honestly, I probably bought the rest when I was about 11 or 12. Probably used like some ang pao money from like Chinese New Year or something to buy the rest of the series. But yeah, it's great. One more series that I was like super obsessed with and reread quite a lot was Darren Shan. I don't have the individual books. I have, I think, 4 of these. Each book like this contains 3 of the Darren Shan books. As you can tell, I started rereading it earlier this year, but I kind of paused for the Owls Readathon. Also, I kind of wasn't that into it. That was a little disappointing to find because when I was younger, I thought this was like such a good series and well written and complex. And I remember, especially in the last 2 books probably, it got more complex, all the different systems and political struggles and whatever. And I was like, wow, this is such a grown-up book for me to read. And I thought that was the case for all of the books, but after rereading the first 2, I'm like, oh, not as complex as I remember. It's a bit more simplistic, but I guess this is a children's book, so maybe that's okay. And actually, I have 1 more book to talk about, but I couldn't find my copy of it. I remember having 1 of the books in the series, but I couldn't find it. And it's Seahorses by Louise Cooper. It was so good. It was about a girl who, I remember there was a talisman and there were like horse spirits or gods or something that would like come out of the ocean. I really couldn't tell you what it's about, but I was so into it. My friends and I, we used to swap books, and Seahorses was one of those series that I would borrow my friends' copies and read them and loved them and adored them so much. But yeah, I just felt like I needed to talk about all these books and reminisce a little bit. To be honest, when I was doing the BookTube newbie tag, I really felt like talking about all the books that I loved as a child, but it felt like too much to shove into that single question on the BookTube newbie tag. So I decided to just make this video to scratch that itch, to fill that gap, to get it done. So yeah, those were some of my favorite books as a child. I wish I could remember all of them because there were a lot more books that I used to borrow from my English Center's library or borrow from friends, and I just can't remember them now. Can't remember what they were called. A lot of them had to do with animals, but yes. Thank you so much for watching.